Soon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Celebrate with L.A. Williams. My name is L.A. Williams, and I am in deep gratitude and respect. Today, we are celebrating the one and only Miss Lakisha May. Lakisha May, how you doing, my friend? The full name.
The full name. I'm well. I'm blessed. I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm at home in Virginia with my family. So yeah, feeling that support. I'm good.
Yes. I love it. Thank you for being here. Before I get into a deeper introduction of you, I want to take a few seconds, Lakisha, to talk about what Celebrate is and what it means to me, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
So this series is a manifestation of a moment I had as a very young theater student at Alabama State University. I was in undergraduate school. It was like one of my first days on campus, really. And I had gone over to the theater building to see a production of a play called Phaedra by Jean Racine. And it was directed by Professor Dr. Tommy Stewart. And Lakisha May, let me tell you, it was truly that moment that we sometimes have where I was like, oh, my God, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. All the talk about being a doctor or a lawyer went out the window. And I was like, I want to know what this is, right? So I was completely sort of swept up by that experience. But the other thing I felt more than ever, and perhaps more than just like, what is this? Was like, I need to find everybody involved in this production and say thank you to them. I had to find them and say thank you for literally changing my life. And when I think back, that was actually the beginning of Celebrate. That was the beginning of what this is. Cut to some years later, I'm living in New York City. It's actually 2012. And I have this truly divine inspiration to turn that feeling into an interview platform where I sit down with some of those people whose work has really inspired me and lifted me up and say thank you to them, but also ask them about their life and their journey and like, what were some of those moments for them? And here we are 10 years later and I'm still doing it and I'm still getting to speak to artists like yourself. And it's just wonderful. And as you know, we're all pulling through this global pandemic, which is crazy. Like, who would have ever thought? Right. It's so real. Who would have ever thought that we would be saying that, let alone living it? And I made a personal decision last fall, as sort of, there was talk about reopening Broadway and doing shows again. I said, you know what? I'm going to do my best at showing up for the people who are on what I consider to be the front lines of this pandemic, people who have their bodies on the stage, no mask, the whole nine. Working behind the stage, going to rehearsals, doing all the things. And I'm so glad I did, Lakisha May, because I got to see some, as always, extraordinary work on Broadway, off Broadway, out of town, right? It's not just in New York, of course. And oh, Jesus, I get so emotional every time I think about it. And one of the shows I got to see this winter, actually, was Skeleton Crew by the one and only Dominique Morisseau on Broadway. And I went to a very early preview and I just so happened, Lakisha May, to see you performing in Skeleton Crew on Broadway. Oh my God, you played the role of Shanita and Lakisha May. Hey, God, you played that role. And here's the thing, and you and I have already had a moment outside of the stage door.
Yes, we did.
I was crying.
I'm about to cry now.
I was crying because I was so full of gratitude and respect, as I said, but also just inspiration. I was just so happy and thrilled for you. And I was also so moved by your work on stage. Lakisha May, every time that I've ever seen you, and I directed you, I had a pleasure of directing you years ago. You bring such honesty and passion and truth to your work. I can always feel the passion. And I felt that in your performance of Shanita. And I just thank God every day that I got to see you in that role and to see you make your Broadway debut. So I wanted to say, and this is sort of my introduction of you. I wanted to say, first of all, congratulations on that. And thank you for that outstanding performance. And thank you, Lakisha May, for everything that you have done, sister. Because you've been working. I'm about to start cursing. You've been working. You and I go back to the second season of the Fire This Time Festival. I directed you in a 10-minute play by Jerome Parker We had Erwin Thomas was in it, Aaron Cherry, yourself was in it. And and I've seen you go on to do shows off Broadway with Mfaniso, who I think I met you through. I think I met you at Emmy's house.
That's right.
Way back in the day. And
Way
to see
back.
you make such a powerful debut on Broadway and to really get your flowers in the way of like you've worked for it. You are a filmmaker, you're a producer, you're an actress. You've been doing everything, Lakisha. And so I wanted to hold space for you today and say thank you, and I love you, and I'm inspired by you, and I'm congratulating you, and I'm celebrating you today. So get ready, because I'm gonna love on you a whole lot.
Well, I don't know why I put on a little bit of mascara, but it's about to be running down my face. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you. Seriously. Moving forward, what I like to do with these Celebrate conversations is I like to start off by celebrating the day you were born. And that question / idea is meant to have you take us back to wherever you want us to go, however far back you want us to go. And tell me about your birth story or an early memory or young life growing up or anything you want us to know.
You know, divine timing. As I said, I'm at home. I'm in Virginia. I'm at my aunt's house specifically, like not even a mile down the road, this way down the road, not the street, the road.
Yes, for the road. Yes, road. Yes, road. I caught it. Yes, road.
Down the road this way is First Morning Star Baptist Church. And I am remembering coming here in the summertime. So I was born in Virginia, December 20th. So winter baby, I was born here. And then when I was 3, we moved to New York. My father was raised in New York, born in Panama, but raised in New York. My mom is from here, born and raised in Gloucester, Virginia. And every summer, I am the first grandchild. So like I got all the love, and I was the first for like 5 years, and then my little brother showed up. So like so I got all the love and all of it. My aunt doesn't have any children, so I have like 2 mothers anyway, all of that. But the summer times I used to come here and from New York, because we moved to New York when I was 3. And I would be with all my cousins, go to vacation Bible school, read the scripture, read the, welcome or something like that, do plays. Probably because we're talking about theater, it's on my heart to talk about, where that started for me. Singing in the choir, which was profound for me because when I got to graduate school, I had such a fear of singing. And I used to say, like, why are you so afraid? I didn't particularly love doing solos at church, but I used to do them all the time. But there was something different about singing these musical theater songs, and not all musical theater songs are white songs, but just something about being in that institution that just like trapped me. And it's not until actually just a few years ago that I'm starting to really embrace that side of that, my singing voice. Even though I've sung in plays and different things like that. But anyway, so that those memories of being here, running and scraping my knees up and hanging out with cousins, at their houses, having sleepovers. Winter baby, and I don't like the cold, and so I used to, and being here in Virginia always felt really welcoming and good and loving. And so I used to celebrate like a half birthday in the summertime here, because I would be here, with summer vacation, and I would just be spoiled because I was the first grandchild, and for a while. Then even when my brother was born, he was a baby, so he stayed in New York for a few years, until he was able to like walk and be, do
absolutely.
So it was a good 7-8 years. It was just me,
living,
just living, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for, I don't know, it's making me emotional now. I'm grateful for that connection to my roots, and I think because it's always been a mainstay. Like I've I lived in New York, and then I moved to Florida for middle school, and then I came back here for high school and undergrad in Atlanta and grad school in San Francisco, then moved to New York. But Virginia has always been a constant for me. The pandemic kind of shifted my feelings about being here for an extended period of time. Because the pandemic hit and I came back here to Virginia. I was in LA. And I was like, I want to be around family. I wasn't completely set up there. I was like, I don't want to be out there. Who the hell knows what's happening right now? So I came here, and it's the longest I've been at home since I left for high school. And to be an adult back at home. My grandmother lives down the road that way. And so between my aunt and my grandmother's house, I've been here, and actually I'm still here. I was in New York because I booked the show, and I, sublet a place for like 3 months, but I don't yet have a permanent residence again. And I'm figuring out, where I want to be is probably back in New York. But that artist lifestyle, which I'm sure I will speak to as we continue to talk.
Absolutely.
It's not easy,
It's not easy,
but it's a blessing.
Real. Ooh, Lakisha May, thank you for that. Thank you for that beautiful opening. Gosh, there's so much in there. So one of the things that I want to sort of tease out a little bit more is like two things kind of in one. One, you talk about sort of having the experience of being able to go back and forth between New York and Virginia. I kind of have a sense of what your time in Virginia was like in those early years. What was it like in New York for you? And where in New York were you, if you don't mind sharing? And I'm curious about at what points, I guess there's like three things. At what point did you sort of become exposed to like the arts? Were you like going to show,
Yeah. Well, yeah, New York, I smile because I actually, 52nd Street Project, which still is in existence. I was one of the first kids that were a part of that program, which is crazy. And I feel like I get emotional again. I was in Everybody at the Signature in 2017. And one of my cast members, Mike Braun, I don't know if you know Michael Braun, phenomenal actor. But I was telling him, I was connected I used to be in the 52nd Street Project. He was volunteering there, and he spoke to them, and they went in the archives, and he got the program from, I won't say what the date was, but we
ain't gonna do all that.
We ain't gonna do all that. But I was 9 years old. I can't remember the play right now, but I came to my dressing room. We had talked about it like days before. He's like, oh, what was your time like there? We were just talking. Like days later, I come to my dressing room, and sitting on my dressing room station is like the program of a play that I had written back when I was 9 years old by Lakisha May. It was a two-hander. Lisa Gay Hamilton was in it.
What?
And I can't remember the other actor, but that one really stuck out to me. And it was at Playwrights Horizon. My off-Broadway debut wasn't a Playwrights Horizon play, but it was at that space at the Peter J. Sharp Theater, which is in the Playwrights Horizon building.
Yes.
It was Infani Philadelphia Sojourners. That was my off-Broadway debut.
Yeah.
And so little 9-year-old Lakisha back then had written a play and watched professional actors bring it to life. And so my time in New York was that there was a 52nd Street Project was a part of the after school program that I used to go to, which was within Hartley House. So I lived uptown. I lived on 104th Street between Amsterdam and Columbus. And my dad was raised in that area. He lived with my grandmother. I've always lived with my grandmothers. When my parents worked, my grandmother took care of myself and my cousins. We were a mixed crew because my dad is Panamanian and my first cousins are Panamanian, but their father was Irish. So, I'm brown, black, I'm black, you know what I'm saying? And my complexion is similar to my aunt, their mom. However, they came out white presenting, you know, but we're first cousins. And so, but I went to Catholic school down at Holy Cross, which is no longer, the church is still there, but the school has just shut down a few years ago. And that's right across the street from the second stage offices, like on 43rd and 9th. And so anyway, so all that to say, my cousins were in Hell's Kitchen, like that's where their apartment was. So after school, I would go to their apartment or I would go to, things got a little funky at their house. So I would go to, I would go to this after school program in Hell's Kitchen area called Hartley House. And one of the programs that they offered was the 52nd Street project. I used to model actually, which was interesting and fun. And my mom still to this day works in retail. My mom works at TJ Maxx. Both of my parents are solidly working class. And I say that with pride. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, God. Yes.
I the work ethic that I get. Like my mom is at work right now. She is one of the managers at that store, walking around doing the things. You know what I'm saying? You know. So I'm borrowing her car. I'm running my errands. I took her to work this morning at 6:30 a.m. and I've been running around. So it's very real. Like that makes me who I am.
Hey, God, hallelujah.
So my mom back then in New York, she worked at the Children's Place. It's a clothing store. I don't know if it exists anymore, but if it does, it's different. It had like really fashionable, cute clothes when it first came out for children. And women used to come in, parents used to come in and get the photos of their children after the ad had passed. And my mom was like, how did you get your kids into this thing? And anyway, after asking a bunch of questions and getting a ton of information, she sent me, we started looking at different agencies, and I worked quite a bit for a few years, did a couple commercials, and then we moved to Florida and it was different down there. I did a few things, but it was a little different. But New York, my time, I saw a few shows. I was like selected from a few students at my Catholic school to go see the Rockettes, to see Miracle on 34th Street, which was like this big, extravaganza at Radio City Music Hall. So I was definitely a kid who grew up, in the 90s in New York City until I was about 10 years old. And then we moved to Florida and things shifted quite a bit in my life and just that part of my life too. But that foundation of the arts, and then for it to come back and to be connected in that way, I was like happy and overjoyed, but I was upset because I was like, I just did my warm up. Now I'm in a whole nother place.
Exactly.
Eyes puffy, like just a mess. When Mike gave me the program, it just really, it blew my mind, his generosity, but also it was just confirmation that I knew, it's just a confirmation for my life.
Yes, God. Yes. So
that was New York.
Ooh, child. Oh my God. My mind is absolutely blown. Okay. First of all, yes, celebrate Mike and that generosity and celebrate generosity.
Yes.
And thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you, Mike. And I also want to just so there are two things that are swirling in my mind, Lakisha May, forgive me. One is I want to celebrate your mom and your dad and your family and the mix that you talk about and the kids and the moving around even. As a person who moved around a lot myself, I have come to learn that as difficult and painful as that was, a lot of times it has absolutely shaped me in so many ways that I will never really ever fully know. It has allowed me to be able to talk to different people, go anywhere, all the things. So let's celebrate that sort of shuffling around too, if we might. And then the other thing that I just want to I'm super present to is the fact that So it sounds like it was just you and your brother. You had a mom, you had a dad. Your mom's from Virginia, your dad in New York. But somehow, Lakisha, like you had this exposure to the 52nd Street Project, to, you know, the after school program. And I always like to talk about on Celebrate, like we can't skip over that. That is not everybody's story. Not everybody has the resources or the access or the wherewithal or the know-how. And so I just want to just celebrate the fact that your parents and your village supported you in that way so that you can have an experience like Mike bringing you the program 20 whatever years later. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that that's fabulous. And I just shout out to your mama and your dad and your grannies and your cousins and everybody, because it takes all of that. If it's okay for me to just
no, that's fine. I want to say something really quickly because I just made a connection in you saying that this platform of celebrating is so important in this time where we're surrounded by so much death and so much weight and so much going on. So I just want to say that. But secondly, I just made a connection. You know, you said not everybody does that and has the resources and all of that. You know, this program was, you know, Hell's Kitchen, it's nicer now, but you know, it wasn't a nice area back then. You know what I'm saying? And so these, the connection that I'm making is that the work that I've been in teaching artists to support my acting work, and I think it's because I'm just realizing now, if it wasn't for the 52nd Street Project and the teaching artists, the counselors, the people there, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And so I became they set the example for me. And if they weren't there, you know, if they didn't, I don't know. I remember some of them, and I won't go into their stories, but I understand now why that was available. I mean, for many reasons, a lot of teaching artists do that. That's available to you. However, it's just moving me now to think about, you know, following in their footsteps and giving back. I mean, I make money, like when I teach, I get paid for it, but it is something that you definitely give more than you have to love.
For. Yes, right. That's absolutely.
Know what I'm saying?
Yes, it is.
And
talk about
so, that is a part of me because they set the example, because they gave to me. I then give to others. You know what I mean? And I understand the importance of it because if it wasn't for those arts, I didn't have the resource. My parents didn't have it to send me to special programs and all of that. This was free.
That's right.
This was a free after school thing. And so, so yeah, I just want to shout out them and celebrate them because they're still doing the work.
They're still
around, you know. Took us upstate, you know, rode horses for the first time, like so many different opportunities. And I was able to get out of the city to come to Virginia, but a lot of my folks that were in the 52nd Street Project with me did not. You know, because they didn't have a mother who had family in Virginia to get them out. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Really
I'm so glad you did. It's so important. Shout out to every single teaching artist, artist who teaches, educators everywhere, theater educators. As a person, I have a master's degree in educational theater. And so that's rocking for me on a lot of levels. And so thank you for that, Lakisha. Thank you for that generosity. Absolutely. I love it. I love it all. Moving forward a little bit. I'm so full already. Me too. Full already. Moving forward to like sort of middle and high school. I always am interested in knowing if you went to like a fancy performing arts high school. You talk about Florida. What did you go to middle school in Florida? What was Florida like? And then talk to me about high school.
Oh yeah, Florida was a pivotal point in my life. My parents moved on up. They bought a house. They, you know, moved to West Palm Beach, Florida. My dad had been working his behind off, working tons of jobs. Anyway, we moved to Florida. I start Catholic school there, but that only lasted for 1 year because in New York City, the diocese subsidizes education for a lot of Black and Latino kids. Latinx kids go to Catholic school, or they did back in my day. And so, but in Florida, especially West Palm Beach, Florida, that was not the case. I was one of one. I was one.
One of one.
There was some Samoan folks there, like 2, I think, in my class, and that was it. But the price was crazy. So 7th and 8th grade, I was definitely in public school for the first time. There's a lot going on with my dad and our relationship, and I won't go into it too much, but a lot of emotional abuse and different things. And so my parents separated, and yeah, they separated. I was a major part of that. I know a lot of kids say they are, but I really was. Like, I had decided that I wasn't going to live under those conditions in that way. And so I decided when I came to Virginia that I was going to stay in Virginia. And so that set off a whole bunch of things. And so then I started high school here. They got me in quickly in September, because all of that was happening the end of August. And luckily, you know, we had a network here of people, and Florida was not easy for me. Like, that was a tough time. I was coming into my womanhood. Like, it was a lot going on. My cousin had come down to live with us, and she ended up going back to New York. It was a lot of things. Yeah, it was a lot going on. And then, like I said, moved to Virginia. My grades drastically dropped in Florida, like terribly. I was in remedial classes, and I had went from like being in 5th grade in New York and going to 8th grade language arts, that's what they called it back then. Like, they fast tracked me to that, to being in Florida, going to remedial courses, because my grades had dropped that much. And that just goes to show you, you know, it's not what the home and what the nervous system and what the mind and psychology and all of these things, how it affects your perceived intelligence.
Yeah, hey, God.
You know, which is again why it's so important. Now, education is not my ministry. I will drop in and do what I need to do, but it's not the thing for me to do, you know,
every day, year round.
Every day. That's not for me. However, I value it so much, and teachers are so important, and coming at students from recognizing the multiple intelligences that exist within us and the ways that we approach life. And so so yeah, I came here and kind of recalibrated. I did not go to a performing arts high school. That there's one high school in this town, Gloucester High School. The name is Gloucester. The county is Gloucester County, and Gloucester High School is the high school here. Yeah. And I was a student athlete. I ran track. I played basketball. I ran track all 4 years. I played basketball for like 3 years. I was involved I did high school forensics team, which is not forensics like dead people, but actually the competition for like speech and storytelling and all of that. So I remember I did The People Could Fly by Virginia Hamilton was my that took me to the NAACP AXO competition. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes, I am.
Because it's a small town, like I competed here and ended up going to like nationals in Houston, and that was the whole thing. So the performing arts was still very much a part of my life. I was part of gospel choir, which was like the high school gospel choir. So a bunch of us, not just from my church, but from the other churches, Baptist churches, Black churches in the county, came together and would sing at different churches. And I was really involved. Honors program, I was in all the advanced classes and came out of school with basically almost being a sophomore. Like my first year at Spelman, my second semester, I was a sophomore in credits because I had taken college credit courses in high school. So completely trained, like I said, Florida remedial courses to high school in Virginia totally changed that whole thing, because I had structure, I had home, I had support, I had family. My aunt, not this house, but another house down the road, I mainly stayed with her. My mom was right across the street, but I would go back and forth. But I just had just this great network and support. I always felt held, and I still do. Everybody kind of rallying behind me to support me if I need, and my brother too, if we needed something. The finance, it didn't matter. Like, it was like, we're gonna come together. Keisha and Ben need this. So yeah, I didn't, at high school, I worked super hard. I also had the incentive. My aunt, like I said, she doesn't have children. So she started off, she's like, well, you made A's, A's and B's. I think I had like a C, maybe my freshman year. And she was like, well, if you get all A's, I give you $100. And I was like, so needless to say, it was straight A's from then on, homie. My GPA was popping.
Popping,
like,
okay.
This is an incentive, but I also felt safe, and I could thrive, and I did thrive, and I don't take that for granted at all. At all. And I met my senior year. I was a part of the Academy of Finance. I don't know why, but whatever. I was part of the Academy of Finance. And through that, I met one of my mentors, who he passed a few years ago, pre-COVID, but he kind of took me under his wing, and I told him, he was a part of the 100 Black Men of America. So I was able to get some scholarships through them. And he became someone who, he and his wife would come to Atlanta and, drop me a few $100s or whatever, just someone there for me. He went to Hampton, but it was Hampton Institute when he went. That's how. But his daughter and his son both went to Spelman and Morehouse, and so he knew the importance. Because when I met him, I was like, yeah, I think I had gotten into Spelman when I met him, because I did early admission, but I was like, but I can't go because I can't afford it. I was like, but Virginia, all the schools in Virginia offered me full rides because it was in state. And so I was like, I just can't. Even the loan, like even the FAFSA, financial aid didn't help. Like, I just didn't get enough. And then one year, my sophomore year, I almost didn't go back. But my mom was able to like figure some stuff out, get a loan and all types of things. And he helped me out with, because like something dropped out. I can't remember. They did something in the government. It messed with me. I can't remember what it was. But his influence, the day, he actually was very close with Audra McDonald's father, actually, ironically. And he came to New York one time. I had since graduated grad school and all this. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm in town. Let's grab dinner. And me and, Carolyn, his wife, we're going to, see a show, Lady Day. I don't know if you got a chance to see that.
No, I didn't get to see it,
phenomenal.
But I heard it. I heard
it was phenomenal. And so anyway, I got to see, and I had seen Porgy and Bess and was like obsessed. I mean, Audra McDonald has done so much before that, but yes. Porgy and Bess, I did see that. I did see that. Yeah, that was the first show I'd seen her in, like in person. And so I was like obsessed. And so he's like, yeah, we're going to see Lady Day. And I was gushing about her. And he's like, well, we'll get you a ticket. And so we walked across the street because we was eating somewhere in Times Square. He's like, we'll get you a ticket if they still have some available. So I went, and he's like, yeah, we're going backstage. And I was like, oh my God. So we went backstage, and, I got to meet her, and that was just beautiful and lovely. And it was actually the day before I was to shoot my first, it wasn't my first TV thing, but it was a Law and Order episode that I had booked, my first guest star role, actually. And anyway, what I'm recognizing and talking to you is just how things like dots just connecting, which is important.
Which is so important to acknowledge those connections and Everything is connected. It all, and we have to remember that even in times like right now. That's what I'm trying to say to people with Celebrate, is that we got to celebrate even the funky moments, the scary moments, because they're all a dot that's going to connect to something else, that it's all going to make sense. If not right now, later. So yes, I love the reflective. I just love it. It's so important to reflect on those things. I love this. Thank you so much. I just want to jump in and say how grateful I am, Lakisha, truly, that you are sharing and reliving and sort of walking us through this beautiful journey. Thank you so much. It is not lost on me, the cost of that and what that is. So thank you. I want to talk a little bit more about your time in Atlanta at Spelman. What did you major in? And was there a moment for you that kicked things upward in terms of like your love for the arts or theater? What was that experience kind of like? And then what happened after Spelman? Like,
I came in undecided. Thought I wanted to be a political science major. I think I wanted to be a lawyer or something. So when you said the doctor lawyer thing, I was like, oh, I completely relate.
Totally understand.
But I had no pressure from my family my mom. And I'm grateful, because she could have very easily been like, look, you can't afford to be nobody's artist. Like, what are you talking about? Even though I didn't commit to being an actor until after I'd graduated from Spelman, but I did everything. And I credit that again to my family. And my mom didn't go, I think she went to college. Yeah, she went for like a year. She didn't finish, but like just of course, college doesn't make you intelligent, but that's the thing that we think.
That's
but
right.
Highly intelligent and expansive, and just being like, do what you want to do. So I explored quite a bit. Like I said, I came in with a lot of credits, and so I was able to kind of do what I wanted to do. For some reason, I think it didn't make sense for me to graduate early, but I think I could have. But I was just like, well, because I think by that point I had gotten my stuff together. So I was like, well, I might as well stay an extra semester, like living wise, like anyway, whatever. There were things I wanted to do. So I studied abroad. I went to Costa Rica for a semester, which was lovely. I was an English major, ultimately, because I wanted to do communications. But Spelman is a liberal arts college, and so we didn't have communications. But I took all the drama courses that I could. It's a small program, so I was able to kind of pick and choose what I wanted to do, which was lovely. And the faculty liked me, so it worked out.
It worked out
because like I couldn't major in it because I didn't take like theater history and theater appreciation, really theater appreciation. Like those like 101 courses. The foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Foundational things. I didn't take those, but because I had to take my own stuff and I was like, at a certain point, it was like, well, you got to come out of here with a major.
Right.
So get yourself together. So yeah, it was a good time. I did and when I studied abroad, I came back and did a bunch of shows. I did Blues for an Alabama Sky, which was a lot of fun, and wrote some plays and directed some plays. And I was on the Miss Marina White court, which was fun. It was just a Miss Morehouse court, essentially. I did that pageant when I got back. And a lot of people were like, I didn't expect you to do a pageant, because I was very much in my I am not going to be just seen for, being, if people perceive me to be this attractive, beautiful, whatever you see me at, I'm going to be more than that.
Right.
And that was my thing, to the point where I had something where I would write like more than just a pretty face, something silly. Just being, like I can't remember if that was like my aim, my what is that? The
slogan or something?
Instant messenger.
Oh, okay.
Well, instant messenger thing that we had back. Telling my age now.
But
aim.
Yeah. Yes, I see what you said. Yeah.
I was able, I don't know, something I was doing with that, and like what my tag was for that. But something drew me to it, and I remember I actually got booed during the pageant because
Really?
Yes, but I placed first runner up, but almost won the queen. My best friend, who was my best friend before that, She ended up being Miss Maroon and White, but I was happy for her. I like cried
Yes.
when she got it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Then they were like, anyway. But because I did a one-person show. And so for these pageants, you went to an HBCU. I don't know how it was at Alabama State, but like a lot of girls, and no shade against this, a lot of them danced for their talent. You either danced or you sang. And I
That's
wasn't
right.
gonna sing.
That's right.
And then dancing wasn't, I could have danced, but it wasn't for me. So I remember I did a one-woman show called Four Women. And one woman was like a homeless woman. So I came out there with, I think the first one was like, had all these like clothes on from the Goodwill that I got. They were these dudes. And you know, it's a combination of, it's a ton of dudes out, a ton of people, but dude, you know, frat guys and stuff. So they were like, what the hell, half of them drunk? Because they coming to just like, we're going to go to the pageant now. We're going to have a good time. And they're like, oh, yeah, this day.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And so I yeah, but my piece was good. Actually, people enjoyed my piece. That dudes who were like, this ain't we, and they applauded because my fourth character was this like woman from Africa. I was being real general back then, not any specific country, but I had like this, I was half naked basically. So I had like this thing across here and a little skirt. And my character, you know, part of the show was stripping down from different characters.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
like
yeah.
homeless woman to like, I think I was like a prissy girl.
Yeah.
To like somebody else. I can't remember what the third one was. And then the last one was, I had a basket and I was picking up all the clothes. And throwing them in the basket. But I had stripped down to this, you know, like little thing, cloth across here, cloth across my bottom half, and like put the, you know, basket up here and like walked off. But they applauded when I started stripping down.
When you start stripping down. Oh my God.
I was a hot mess at the end. I came off stage and was a crying mess. They threw me off the stage.
Oh.
And anyway, love to my Morehouse brothers though, because that was a journey, and it the colorism that or not even colorism, but just the respectability politics, because I during the pageant, you rehearse for like a couple weeks. I had twists, I had kinky twists in my hair. And I'll never stop telling this story. I've told this story a couple times. Kinky twists in my hair, and I almost didn't get in the pageant because they just like they choose people who will be in the pageant because I had kinky twists in my hair. And a friend of mine had told me about it. I ended up getting in the pageant, and then there was some buzz. It was like, you know, she's gonna straighten her hair though, right, for the actual pageant, because kinky twists are not, you know, they're not. What did they say? They aren't dressy enough for pageants. And so my stubborn self, I actually had planned to take them out. I had planned to take them out and straighten my hair, all that. I made a special trip home to Virginia because the lady that did my twist was in Virginia. I came home one weekend, got my twist redone for the pageant. And I was like, y'all making me wear twists for the pageant, because I actually hadn't planned on it. I was going to straighten my hair just like everybody else and have the straight, you know, flowing hair down my back and all of this. But no, since y'all want to talk stuff, and I actually wrote, once I became first attendant, I actually wrote an article about it in the college newspaper, because I was like, this is foolishness.
This is
like
foolery.
How do we call ourselves a Black institution? And now this was back when, you know, things have shifted and changed, but it's just, you know, I ain't that old.
Right. Exactly. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
So it's just interesting the ways in which we police our Blackness and Black bodies and Black women and
ourselves.
What is perceived to be formal. You know, I just said a ton of things. So yeah, there's a lot in there.
Let me tell you something. I will forever be grateful to you for this retelling and this reliving and this epic story that is that pageant. Like, I mean, and also the protest of it all. Like, I love it, Lakisha. And it's so crazy because as I listen to you talk about these things, I feel these things in your work. Like, this is a part of what I feel from you when I'm around you.
Oh,
I feel that passion. I feel that protest. I feel that, oh, okay, so y'all talk about my hair. Well, let me go get it redone, you know? And also, like, I just want to celebrate the fact, if I may, and this is kind of me saying something and asking something, like, I want to celebrate the fact that you had that whole experience of runner-up and all the things. And maybe even that you got booed, but I'm curious, I guess in that context, if there was one thing that you felt like you took from that, or looking back at it now, you're like thankful for, what would it be from that experience?
Oh, that's a powerful question for me, because New York and this artist life is difficult. And throughout my time as a professional artist, if I'm honest, the survival tactics necessary to make this artist lifestyle work, I have found that I dim my light a bit. Even though people might not have seen it, but there are ways that I wasn't fully me. And this, you know, like, people were surprised I did this pageant and whatever. And to look back on that time and to highlight moments where I was like defiantly me and said, I am a star and I don't care. What do you have to say? And if I'm honest, this time in my professional career, where I'm running around babysitting and doing this and doing that and just letting things pile on top of me, and auditions knocking me down. I can't, you know, me and my best friend were like, I don't even want to know how many auditions I've gone on in the last, 10 years since I've been out of graduate school. Like, I don't even want to think about it, but that constant rejection, and just being like, and so to look back on a time where, first of all, of course, the love, the beauty of going to an HBCU and being able to be honored as a Black queen. First of all, okay, that part, that part, to be like, okay, I have been elected to be a Black queen for the year. Amazing.
Let's celebrate that.
Celebrate that.
Yeah.
And I think we were like the 145th anniversary year of the Maroon and White of Miss Morehouse. But anyway, so that, but then I don't know, I lost my train of thought. But basically, I love this question because I get to look back and say, you shined at those times. And to look back on Lakisha that was so young and didn't quite understand and was so insecure and so in, like, sometimes held in her body, but then, like, against all odds was like, I'm breaking out, I'm gonna, the child in me being like, I'm not gonna let, honestly, trauma from being raised by my dad and all these things, I'm not going to let that trauma and all these things, I'm going to shine. I'm coming out. And I'm going to just, whatever I have, you're going to see. This story, I'm not dancing. I'm going to do a one-person show. And I'm going to wear my natural hair as I do this. And I'm going to write about y'all asses in the newspaper after the fact. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, adult Lakisha needs that reminder to remind myself, like, no, you back then at 19, 20, probably 20, 19, 20, because I was young in college. Like, I started college kind of early. Like, you were doing that then with all the things, with nothing, no understanding, like the understanding I have now. I don't have the words, but
you do, Lakisha. You are I'm sorry, I want to jump in and
No, do it.
add to this point where you are. You're first of all, oh my God, hold on, pause, LA, keep it together, because this is what you are saying is so deeply profound.
Mm.
And what you are teaching us and giving us back is so. Here's what I want to say. You talk about going back to the sort of child in you and the I'm coming out no matter what, and the sort of and the thing that I want to say is you also, and we also had everything you needed at that time.
Yeah.
Like when you could, because you can say like, and I didn't even really have, you had everything you needed.
I did.
You had everything you needed.
You're right.
What you didn't have is the more programming that you now have.
Yes.
And the more conditioning that we've got to get rid of. You did not have that. So it's harder to be that 19-year-old girl because we've got more shit to unpack and get rid of. Right. Yeah. And so I think for me, the way I'm hearing what you're saying is we've always had that fearlessness. We've always had that protest, and you will see me and I'm gonna be me. You know, we just had less conditioning and more conditioning as time has gone on. Right. And so how do we continue to strip? Hey, God, how do we continue to strip and take that shit off and get back to who we were in the very beginning? Right. How do we go backwards and get way back to the little girl who wrote the 9-year-old? Get off my phone, Lakisha. Get off my phone. I'm about to throw something. How do we go all the way back to, because that was the free, that was the free, that was before the abuse, that was before the trauma. How do we go backwards? Hey, God.
Yes.
So that's how I'm hearing it. And that's my offering, you know, and my addition to what you're saying. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Listen, okay, listen. I don't even know what shall we.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know what's going on. Okay, listen. Okay, really quickly, and then I swear I want to move forward. Where I'm interested in going now is what happened after Spelman? Did you go to grad school? I think you mentioned grad school at some point.
Yes.
And then what? How was that? And then what happened after that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, went to grad school. Went to ACT. I took a year off. I interned at the Alliance Theater. I was the artistic intern.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Lovely. I was the assistant to the casting director. So I used to sit in all the auditions and I was the reader. I did a host of things for the artistic team, but I sat in her office and maintained the database. And my main thing was like reading for auditions. And it was then that I was like, I can't shake this wanting to be an actor thing, because I had applied to film school. I only applied to 2 film schools, Columbia and NYU, because I wanted to be in New York, and didn't get in. And I was like, all right, well, let me intern here and see what happens. I created little videos for them. So that was like fulfilling my my film like urge. I did like the videos that were in the lobby, little spotlight videos or whatever, you know, highlight something interesting for the show, from the show that folks were about to go see. And so created those and all types of things. Was just a lot of things that actually set the stage for what I'm doing now. And I couldn't shake the feeling that I got when I would read with these professional actors. And I noticed the people who really moved me the most had went to graduate school. And the folks who I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, for the most part, they went to graduate school, even if it was like years ago. But they had spent a considerable amount of time in the theater or having gone to some training program. And so ACT stuck out to me. So a friend of mine went there, and because she was there, they had sent a rep to Spelman. And so long story short, I applied. I went to URTA, applied to all the schools. ACT was my top choice. And I got into a couple URTA schools, but ACT was the one of the top schools that I applied to, that I got into. Which is the one I wanted to go to. So was there for 3 years. I met a lot of people. Infoniso, who's a phenomenal actor. We don't have a playwriting program. We just have acting. That's it. Because it's a theater. I mean, we just shut down, unfortunately, sadly. The not the theater, but the MFA program no longer exists there. But Aaron Washington, a lot of folks. Some of the younger said Adriana Mitchell and Jerry Johnson and all these folks. They're younger than me, but yeah, so I was there. I needed graduate school because I needed to release that child that we're talking about and really just be free. And that's when I agree with you about the conditioning and all of that, but really in graduate school, I began to understand the ways in which the society and this world had boxed me in. And there was some boxing going on at ACT because it is a white institution. However, I mean, we're rolling around on the ground. I mean, MFA programs, it's 6 days a week of you just exploring your body and dynamic play and a physical theater. And of course, you're learning the classics according to them. And it just really moved me. I aligned with all of the Black teachers, of course. I sought them out. They are still my uncles, mentors, basically almost like uncles to me now. To this day, the Black trustees at the theater, developed a really great relationship with them, and would go over to their houses in Oakland and the hills and eat well and see Black excellence in that way. And just be taken care of by them. And fall in love with the Bay Area. San Francisco, not so much. It was a culture shock because I had come from Black Atlanta and HBCU, and it took months for me in downtown San Francisco to see a Black person in AC. San Francisco, they so much about, we're so diverse. Yes, except for Black people. And you push them all the way to Bayview Hunters Point.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
you do. Yeah, I've been there. Yes.
So yeah, and Last Black Man in San Francisco, I saw that film, I think during the pandemic, and it was such an emotional experience for me. One, Jonathan Majors is like a singular, incredible, beautiful talent. And I don't know him personally, but his talent, and he's a beautiful man. But like, but yeah, so like that film though moved me for many reasons, because the storyline, and then it was also very nostalgic for me. I remember Barry Jenkins' first film too. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it showed Black people. It was a Black love story in San Francisco. And it was just like, oh my gosh, Black people in this city, like what? This is amazing. Because you had to go across the bridge to see that. So my social life was non-existent in San Francisco because I was like, I don't go to bars in flip-flops and drink beer. I'm sorry. That's rude. That's so rude.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, when we dressed in
when we going out? Exactly. Heels and everything.
Ready. That was not the case in San Francisco. So I was very focused on school.
I got my work done.
And I mean, we really didn't have time to go out like that anyway, because it's, 6 days a week, 12-hour days, class during the day, rehearsal in the evening, 1 day off. And on our 1 day off, Aaron Washington and Fonisa Adofia and Jamila Biggs, who went to undergrad with me and then went to ACT, they started something called the NIA Project. And we would mentor to young people through the arts. And on our day off, it was every Saturday. They had went to a school out in Bayview, Hunters Point, which you will see in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Is where Jonathan Majors and his grandfather live. Anyway, they shut down a school out there, and they were moved by, and they were like, made a connection with some of these Black young people there and said, come on over to ACT. We taught ACT had a young conservatory. I think they're still in existence. And we talked to them, and Young Conservatory is like, actually, they made more money than the MFA program. And wealthy parents in San Francisco was sending their kids to get their theater education So we would like pass along some of them resources to these underserved kids. So that was actually the beginning of my teaching, was through the NIA project. And we did it on our own. We had no guidance from the faculty. That was us coming together and identifying a need. And it was all the Black students that came together to mentor to these young people through the arts. And that kickstarted everything for me in the education space, and needing to, and the need and desire to serve us through that. And I also fell in love with food out there, because we didn't talk about my other interests in food and farming and all of that. To go to every farmer's market in the city, I knew where each one was. And so I was like, oh, it's Wednesday. We at the Civic Center. It's Saturday. It's Fillmore. It's, you know, like because all of the farms, like most of our produce in this country come from California.
That's right. That's right.
And so, so yeah, so that was the beginning of that for me as well. And so my advocacy work that I do is at the nexus of like arts and education and food, addressing food insecurity and
that's
food
amazing.
apartheid. Yeah, the way that we have been, it's not food deserts, it's food apartheid. It's the way we've been systemically, separated and isolated from good sources of food in supermarkets. And so anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother hours-long conversation in that. But yeah, so grad school was beautiful. I know folks who had complaints about it, but I wasn't held down or oppressed by it in any type of way.
I love that.
For me. I understand those that were. Yeah.
Love that. Lakisha May, ciao. I'm my cup is rising and rising. This is so good and juicy. Thank you for everything you just shared. And thank you for what you just said about the nexus of your work. Thank you for talking to me about your experience in grad school, all of it. And I think I want to say again, it's crazy because as I listen to you, I feel these experiences when I see your work. And when I encounter you on the street even. And so it's just so fascinating to be like, I can feel the collection of these experiences just pouring out of you whenever I encounter you, as I keep saying. So thank you again. And so that's a part of what I'm processing. All right, so listen, moving forward, when did you, just talk to me a little bit about your entry into New York?
Yeah.
And then I want to get to Skeleton Crew. So I want to just kind of like, I just want to.
I'll quickly jump through. So got to New York, was sleeping on my cousin's couch, did a ton of regional theater. My first show was actually in the Bay Area at Marin Theater Company out of grad school, which was great. It was in the Red and Brown Water, the West Coast premiere of those plays. Couple of theaters, did the three of them. Terrell came out. That was my introduction to him, and started our friendship then, and whatever. And so then came to New York to the East, came back to the East Coast, did a ton of regional theater, did some TV, shot a film out in Panama, which was incredible. Auditioned on my birthday, didn't want to audition, but auditioned. And they didn't know I was Panamanian until after they started talking to me and had cast me in it. And I spent like 4 months in Panama at the top of 2015. It was just beautiful, and nourishing to my soul and my spirit. And like I said, my dad is from Panama, and I just began to understand and learned so much about him, about my family, about the way that we are so oppressed and held, that's beyond the laws. And I know so many people know that, and I am not a politician or a pundit or anything like that, so I'm probably going to butcher things, but I just we have so much work to do on the heart because they've done a number on us. You know
Yes,
what
they
I'm
have.
saying?
Yes, they
Like
have.
we have so much that we got to figure out on the policy side and on the legal side and all of that. I understand the structural, systemic, all of that. But the ways in which, and we're just beginning to unpack trauma and the ways in which that shit just is in our DNA and just continues for generations and is passed down. And so I began to unlock and heal and understand after going to Panama and understand some of the ways. And my father's an immigrant to this country and was born in the Panama Canal Zone. So that automatically made him a US citizen. So there's a lot of history and there's a lot of things there that I just began to understand and feel. And as an artist, my job is to feel and to make others feel.
Hallelujah.
And we have to make sure that we hold space for the artists in our society and in our world. And I'm on my soapbox a little bit right now, but it's so important because beyond the legal, the policy and all, and I'm working in that space. I'm working with different organizations mainly in food, but you know, I've worked in education and all that. I understand all of that. But until we unlock our hearts and the ways in which we harm ourselves and our children and our family members, and down to the point of, you know, certain family members, and I'm even talking about some of my family here in Virginia, cannot say I love you, just let it come out of their mouths because they've been so burdened. Our humanity has been taken away, can be taken away. You know, and that's why these stories are so important. That's why jumping to Skeleton Crew, that's why, you know, you tell the story of these auto workers and you see this love between my favorite part of that was the love story. And Ruben used to talk about it. Ruben Santiago Hudson was the director of Skeleton Crew on Broadway, and he did the Atlantic premiere. And he talked about, you know, these folks, the audience would just go crazy when Shanita and Des kiss. Because it's like those people are so, it was like our people are so starved to see Black love. Because as I said, we got so much work to do. And so when you see it, and then it's such a beautiful writer like Dominique Morisseau builds up these characters. And Shanita is real, like, I ain't got time for you. I ain't got time for this. I got this. I'm a pregnant woman. And to see this Black man who is carrying a gun, is doing, I'm sorry, I'm giving away the whole play, but whatever. See the show.
See the show.
but read the play. But when you see this Black man who is really struggling with the outside world, and he says everybody, like, who are you fighting? Everybody. I feel like everybody is against me. I gotta carry arms, I gotta protect myself. But then he softens enough and sees this Black pregnant woman who's working her behind off, and they fall in love as the plant is being shut down, as all of these things are happening. The sacrifice Faye makes. Anyway, I'm just I
love it.
Stories liberate us, especially when the truth, when it's embedded with the truth. And my graduate school, my life, everything has prepared me and is constantly refining me, or I am constantly working on myself to be truthful and to have integrity in every moment. And I hope and I pray that seeps through my work at all times, as much as I can. I'm human, but like the truth, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's why it's important to celebrate. It's important to self-reflect and to be like, okay, this is how I was. This is how I am now. These are the things that influenced it. This is the ugly shit that happened, but I'm still here. I am here. And so even the way Skeleton Crew happened for me, I was doing a workshop at Manhattan Theater Club, Jocelyn Bio, a new play by Jocelyn Bio. And I was in New York like in November, something like that, October something. And we went for dinner and she was like, I'm doing this reading And she's like, you gonna be here? I was like, I'll be here for your reading. Let me know when it is. I'll be back. Like, I'll make it happen. So I came back and I did that. It was the first week of December. And I was actually supposed to do a regional theater show. At that, like in the hallway during a 10-minute break, I run into Dominique Marisa, who I knew from years ago. I'd like sublet from her, all types of things. Friend of mine, we worked together. We taught not together, but for the same institution, all types, whatever. We go back. I hadn't seen her since LA. That's why she didn't think I was here, because I was at her. I visited. Last time I saw her, I went to her house in LA, and we just ate and chat, whatever. And so she was like, "Oh my God, Lakisha May, you're here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here." She's like, "I was just talking about you and wondering if you were here." And hours later, my agent called me and was like, "Hey, they want you to audition for Skeleton Crew to be a cover and or the understudy for it." And I said, "Sure." And I ended up not auditioning, but I'll talk about that later. And I, got it. And so ended up staying in New York. Had to cancel flights and let that other theater know, sorry, but I'm making my Broadway debut.
Exactly.
I can't come out to, that theater and do that play. And so, and then found out on my birthday, December 20th, that I would be going on. I would start rehearsal. I have 4 days to learn the part. Christmas Day off, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day off. Then December 26th had a dress rehearsal. December 27th, first preview. And somewhere in there, I did 4 shows. I did the first 4 previews. Somewhere in there, you came to see the show.
Yeah.
And it's COVID has totally upended the way that we approach theater and the way we view understudies. And Shantae, who's lovely, Shantae Adams, who I understudied, the first day I met her, she was showing me around, because we started tech first. We started the first day of tech, the understudies came in and we met everybody. And she was showing me around. This is how you open the locker. This is how you do all these things. And I was like, thank you so much. And I was like, I really appreciate you being so generous with your time and showing me all these things. She said, girl, we sharing this role. And I said, thank you. I was like, this was, I don't know, December 12th, maybe we started. It was like a week before the 20th. For that, whatever that math is.
Yeah.
And then the 20th, COVID happened. And I was on. I was like, you get ready, you about to rehearse. I'll hop on that stage.
And you hopped on that stage, Lakisha May. You hopped on that stage and you hopped in that role and you were incredible and brilliant. And I felt everything that I feel from you now, that evening that I saw you. And I just, again, having had the opportunity to work with you, even for a short time on a 10-minute play way back in the day, I'm always just moved by, again, your passion, and you bring a strength to your work. You bring there's something really solid and truthful. It's funny, you actually just talked about truth. And I feel the fight for the truth in your work. I feel the truth of your work. It's just great. And I felt so good to see you, and felt so lucky because I had no idea what I was. I was just like, let me go down here and see the show. And quite honestly, if I'm going to say this out loud, it was really my thought process, and all my friends can tell you. I was like, let me go see Skeleton Crew Track because it might not be open next week with this COVID stuff.
I know that's right. That's
so
what
let me just go.
Said.
I was like, let me just run down here. So that was the only thing that was in my mind. And then it was like, I don't even know if I looked at the program. Lights came up and I was like, when I saw you, I was like, and I remember feeling like, oh God, I feel so lucky. And then as I watched you, I knew then that I wanted to say thank you and to celebrate you. So that's why this moment is extra special. because I immediately thought about the journey from what I've seen just as an onlooker. I don't know, I know what I know now. And also just the beauty of what you were doing on the stage. You and Joshua were great. You fit right in. And I just want to have a moment to shout out Shantae Adams, who said this really lovely, beautiful thing to you. And when we talk about tapping into our hearts and being kinder and we're loving to each other, what a gorgeous thing.
Absolutely.
For a Black woman to say to another Black woman, what a gorgeous thing for an artist to say to another artist, an actor to say to another actor, we are sharing this.
Yeah.
And as a person who's directed Skeleton Crew regionally, this idea that, and Dominique talks about it all the time, that we share this work. We all leave a fingerprint on it. And I love that. And I shout that out. And I just want to say thank you. And lastly, I want to say to you, and I've been speaking to some other wonderful, incredible artists this season on Celebrate. Thank you for your work as a cover, as an understudy. Thank you for that, because y'all have kept Broadway alive and open. And that's always been the case, but we're finally talking about it now. And thank you, Lakisha, for your work, stepping in, stepping up, having the 4 days, doing what that took to give me a performance that I was like, thank you, and I just think we need to hear that. We need to hear that, because listen, I don't even know how actors act. I don't know how y'all do it, let alone jump into something, child. I need 30 days just to get my mind right, so thank you. Congratulations on that. What a stunning debut. And it reminded me once again of that moment I had a long time ago as a young theater student, where I was like, look at this, Ruben directed that thing, y'all acted that thing, it was great. And I actually got to come back on opening, so I got to see the beautiful Shantae. It was great. It was wonderful. Listen, in the spirit of lightheartedness and fun, and you kind of hit on it earlier, just a couple things that you really like, things that make Lakisha happy, like your favorites or anything like that.
Oh, child. Okay. This is kind of random, but not. Here lately, since I've been home, I've had like some full days, and I have just found joy in just walking barefoot in the grass. Like that sounds like some country stuff, or like I'm trying to be a wellness person. No, like for real. Like I have walked out at my grandmother's house, so down the road, and like listening to my music. I was listening to Love Below by Andre 3. Well, Outkast, but Andre 3000. And it was like reminiscing on my college days, and like was just like dancing and moving and walking and like just moving in the grass. My mom came home and she was like, what? I think by that point, child, I was rolling in the grass. I was having a good old time, reconnected to like young child.
Yes.
So that has been, and that's important. I discovered that in the pandemic. Like came home and just started doing cartwheels outside because I was bored. And it was like, how many Netflix shows, how many things can you watch? You know what I'm saying? Let me just get some, especially once it warmed up for real. I was like, let me just be outside. But that's been one of my favorite things. It's so important, so important as we're glued to these devices. You know what I mean? And it's beautiful because I get to do this with you here. If it wasn't for this. Eating good food and discovering good food. Although the pandemic took a bit of my appetite away, which is interesting. But important to talk about the ways in which we have been affected by this global pandemic.
Yep.
And I love food. So my family was like, what's going on? I was like, I'm good. It's like, you barely ate today. I'm like, I'm good. I don't know. I don't want to eat. But anyway, but still love food. And I started a little garden. It did not do well, but it's cool.
Try again.
But we'll try again. But yeah, good food and things related to nature. I miss hiking out in LA. That was a lot of fun. Dancing. I just started, that happened in the pandemic, so just be in my room with my AirPods in and just like start moving. Just start moving. Like not even, I'm not a dancer. Just move it. And I don't even know if you call it dancing. Just moving freely to music.
Yeah, that sounds like dancing to me.
Yeah, right.
That sounds like the perfect definition to dancing, moving freely to music. I like to wrap these conversations up, Lakisha May, with 3 questions. The first one being, what does it mean to you to be celebrated?
To be seen. To be seen by a loved one. Like truly seen. I've been valuing that a lot more lately. Like for people to like, there are few people in my life who really see me. You know what I mean? And I don't mean seen like we looking at somebody on Instagram. No. No, I mean to be seen. You know?
All the way.
All the way seen. And I can just be. And you can be. And I don't know. I don't know if that is. I mean, I feel like that answers the question for me, but I'm trying to like make it more than what it is.
No, you have already said it. You've already said it. To be seen by a loved one, and to be truly seen, not looked at but seen. Listen, what or who do you celebrate?
My mom. My mom. There's so many ways in which we don't indulge in pleasurable activities when we're in survival mode. And so many of our people, that's why we suffer from so many things. Shout out to Adrienne Maree Brown and her pleasure activism books and emergent strategy has really shaped and molded my thinking on this over the last few years. The survival mode, that's what I mean by there's so much work that we need to do. Survival mode, capitalism, all these things have done a number on us.
Yes, they
but
have.
we don't know what it is to just enjoy, what it is to rest and to do for yourself, to celebrate yourself just because. So, I started to recognize ways in which my mom just works, you know what I mean? And does for everybody but herself. And I know that's like we hear that a lot about mothers and, mamas and grandmamas and stuff, but just really trying to awaken my folks to joy and pleasure, enjoying their lives. So yeah, exposing her to parts of my world that the cultural things that I have access to because I've decided to do this thing with my life. And let's go to this nice restaurant, let's get this good food, and it's not always expensive, but this is like well made. Let's go see this piece of art and go on this vacations. I didn't grow up going on vacation. What is that? I know some people that did, and there's nothing against that. I mean, beautiful, wonderful for you. My mom don't know what a vacation is. So child, trying to take her on that and do stuff like that with her.
Name those authors for me one more time so I don't forget them.
Adrienne Maree Brown is one person. She they are a writer of pleasure activism and emergent strategy.
Yeah, and I know that book. Yeah, I know that book.
Emergent strategy.
Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And my final question for you, Lakisha May, is what do you do to celebrate you?
During Skeleton Crew, started taking baths actually quite regularly. Like an old lady, Epsom salt bath. But
yes. Yes.
But it's real. But
listen, what is a bath without Epsom salt, child? Come on.
I would get the eucalyptus and mint Epsom salts from Whole Foods. and drop that in, and then I'd have my like eucalyptus hanging. It was a whole aromatherapy experience. Have my candles burning.
Yes.
I look forward to when I get my own space again, which is coming soon. Well, that's my own permanent space. That was a sublet that I had where I can just indulge in that more as I did then. But just quiet time. I journal every single day. The pandemic got me into that every morning. That is a celebration because I'm talking to God. I'm talking to the God in me, saying, girl, you are this, you are that. It's letting out all the thoughts, but then also like I celebrate myself quite a bit in that journal.
That's right.
And my goal is to celebrate myself in my everyday speech in the way that I celebrate myself in the journal.
Ooh, what a stunning goal. What a stunning goal. Thank you for that sharing, Lakisha May. Thank you for this. I am so honored, my friend, that you took time to share with me your beautiful story and your beautiful heart and your work. I'm just so honored. I really am, Lakisha May. I really am. It's not lost on me for 1 second what this is and what you've given us. And just thank you. And thank you again for your stunning work in Skeleton Crew and all the work that you've done before and the work that you'll do after Skeleton Crew and all the work that you do outside of the theater, your work as an educator, all of it. I wanted to be able to say to you in this space, in this way, thank you. I love you, sister. We love you. Don't think for 1 second that we don't see you and that we don't hold you and lift you and have you and got your back. And I just thank you so much and I love you.
Thank you for this platform. I know we're over time, but it is so important that we celebrate each other and that we know that we are held. This is so important. I've watched a couple of these and I'm always so moved and inspired and I feel the love from you. So thank you, LA, truly.
Thank you.
Like, I know your journey, some of it, you know what I'm saying? And so I am just in awe of what you have created and what you do and the way that you pour into us. And we have to continue to pour into each other.
Absolutely.
So I just want to take this few minutes just to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. You are very welcome, Lakisha May. And thank you for that. And I feel the love and the celebration every single time I have these conversations. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a I pour, you pour kind of thing. So I appreciate that very much. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. We have to keep doing that. I love you, sister. We're going to do this some way in some other time soon because I can talk to you forever. You are brilliant. I love you. And I'll see you very soon.
I'll see you. Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye. Enjoy Virginia. I want to come to Virginia now.
Come on.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.